Welcome back to Tales of Two Bros. I am Angel,
I'm Adan.
and we'll be doing two action reviews currently streaming on Netflix. First one, Fistful of Vengeance and Day Shift. Which one is worth the watch? Which one is a waste of time? So before we go on our review, if you're interested in saving a little bit here and there on gas, on certain restaurants, or certain groceries, please check the description below on how you can save. It's not a sponsor, but just try to do our part to help each other out. Spoilers.
Let's talk about Fistful of Vengeance first. Let's knock that out of the way.
Fistful of Vengeance is, I think, if you can correct me if I'm wrong, a sequel or the only sequel to a Netflix series called The Wu Assassin or Wu Assassins.
I think it's just Wu Assassin, singular. But yeah, they never did a season 2. And it feels like it's like, whoa, since we can't do a season 2, we're going to do a movie.
I originally liked the show. It was smart. It was kind of cool in the way they approached that genre. It was a genre mixed of martial arts, mysticism, religion, if you will, all that stuff that came into one. And it had a nice story, I thought. It had some really good actors in there, some that we knew, some we did not know. And it did lead into a way that, yes, a season 2 would be welcoming. And we never got that, but we got this, I'm going to say right now, garbage. Let's call it what it is. This was such a disappointment to that show. The action was okay. The characters were blah. Yeah, it was great to see them again, but I fell asleep. And I watched it just to get out of the system, complete it, to do this review. What about you? How did you think? Do you agree with me that this was, I'm going to call it right now a waste of time?
I would say some parts of the action were entertaining. Oddly enough, I liked the hotel. I remember we were talking about this the other day.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the hotel fight that was happening amongst the characters, but the Wu Assassin show had some highlights that were good and bad for me, so I was pretty meh. Here, instead of being meh, I was definitively meh. It was like a lower than meh. I would say no, it's not worth it, honestly. If you're just trying to give yourself some kind of closure to the show and say like they left it with a cliffhanger, they left it where I feel like I need a season 2 and I need to watch this to get that closure. It still doesn't even do a good job of that. It ties into the hook for the end of season 1 very loosely. It's not even a good tie-in.
No, it's just like a flashback, like a throwaway.
It feels like they just made that for like they made the movie and then they added that part in to like kind of connect the two. And in that part, not good. Also, I gotta ask because it's been a while since I watched Wu Assassin. So the brother that survived, right? That is like, I need to avenge my sister, all this stuff. If I remember correctly, he almost never fought. And even when he did, he wasn't that good, right?
Well, no one really fought towards the end. Then everyone did. It's like, wait a minute, how did everyone start fighting? Like only one knew, the Wu Assassin, the one who got anointed when he was taken over by the spirit, played by Mark Dacascos. Thank you. His fame from John Wick 3 and The Crow, the television series. He did that and he was not even in this. So I don't know. I don't remember from the show if he was like done with, like he did his time, so he was able to ascend to another plane.
There was a lot of confusing things in the movie. Like there was a moment that they stole all his chi, and then he does something that I'm like, wait,
he still has his chi.
He still has chi, or is he manifesting new? Like, did he suck his life force and put it back in himself to make more chi? I don't know how that works, and that was why it was about the brother. It's like, is the butterfly knife magical?
I don't know,
because he uses it like nothing. I mean, there was a lot of things that confused me.
Everyone knew how to fight when no one knew how to fight,
and on par with him.
Exactly right. And I mean, yes, they have some action scenes in here and there. And it was sad too. It's like the director of Fistful of Vengeance, he also directed a couple episodes of Wu Assassins. So you would think that you're from the original source. not just the actors, but you have also the director. Now, granted, I don't remember which episodes he did, so maybe there were weak episodes possible. Granted, this is action, and it's not really about the story; it's more about the action than the story, right? But to me, the action was weak. You have some moments. Yeah, you said you had the hotel. I want to say another one, but I just can't really remember because there was a lot of scenes that didn't make sense. They're fighting for no reason. I mean, Iko, who is the Wu assassin, he's very charismatic. So seeing him move and do his thing, that's always great to see. But overall is pretty lacking because there's times where he's fighting a group or part of the team is fighting a group and there's people just standing there waiting their turn, the very old way of movie fighting when one fights a group that's circled them.
But
I mean,
that goes to like testament to the choreography of the fight as well, like because we've seen him in like we've talked about the first movie we've seen him in, The Raid,
right?
and
The Raid. Well,
he is skilled.
For me, Marantu, I'm saying it wrong. Give me a second here. The first movie I said was like extremely low budget movie that I saw at a film festival, Merintau. I'm butchering it, but that's the first time I seen them. They came out in 2009, and that was a great film. And then they came out The Raid, and then
Raid Redemption.
He was in The Man of Tai Chi. He was in other things. He made a cameo in the Star Wars, The Force Awakens. Mm-hmm. He's done a lot. He was great, I thought, in Mile 22 with Mark Wahlberg. So he's done some really great stuff. But then he did a lot of movies that came straight out to Netflix with other stars from The Raid and his team of martial art school. And they were always weak. He stood out, and maybe another character or two stood out. But the fight choreography, the stories in those films were not up to par for what we saw him before, especially The Raid, The Raid 2. And he got Mile 22. So,
well, I remember we talked about that in Wu Assassin. Like, we knew how good of a fighter he was. And then, granted, we love Mark Dacascos as, and I'm going to butcher the name too, as a fighter. But in Wu Assassin, for, like, I want to say it was like the first half of the season even, or like going off and on, they would substitute him for Mark. And like,
right.
And I get it. It was for the story and whatnot, but honestly, like, yo, he can do the fights.
No, but I think they were doing that to show like who's taking control, who's taking over the body. Here in Fistful of Vengeance, again, we don't see Mark at all in here. You know, you have also here in the Fistful of Vengeance, that's from also Wu Assassins, one of the stars of Mortal Kombat, the recent Mortal Kombat, that we thought was...
I think he fought better here than in Mortal Kombat.
Well, yeah, but at the same token, how is he fighting? Like, there's a one scene where, again, useless scene where everyone is like on downtime and his girlfriend from the past, who's a cop or Interpol, they're hooking up. And I was like, again, scene's not needed. I was like, why? And then he's going to fight. They're all attacking and they split up. Why would you split up against groups? You're stronger in numbers. And it's hot out there because everyone's sweating. He puts on a leather jacket.
You gotta be styling, always be styling.
You're coming out of the room sweating, so you're gonna put a leather jacket on, and then the line is gonna be like, your skin is be sticking to that. To me, it made no sense. Maybe because the hide from his stunt double who's doing it, maybe is a better way to cover. Maybe his stunt double had tattoos where he doesn't. Yeah, Louis Tan. For me, I didn't care for him, whatever. And, the guy you're talking about, the brother, Lawrence Cow, yeah, him having the knives and he's able to fight all this stuff. And then you have the appearance who was the girl, the blonde hair, Juju Chan.
She came from the Wu Assassin too.
Right. But then it was like no purpose. She just showed up. I was like, I'm part of the bad team. I'm the bad guy.
Well, no, they said that she took the deal to be part of the bad guys, and she was there like when the sister died. And it's all because like she was tired of being used by the father from the Wu Assassin. But
right, like there's a piece missing that would have made it more concise or easier to follow. Like again, the movies that Iko has done for Netflix or that Netflix bought is just a downgrade. Wu Assassin, even though it was a weak show, let's be real, the series was so much superior than this movie.
So that
As
leads to two questions for me. One,
Mhm.
do you think that they would have benefited doing this as a show, even with less episodes, just make it a show, fill it out? Do you think that would have made
Mhm.
this better?
It would give an opportunity to answer questions better instead of just doing flashbacks and I'm now I know I was against you, then I'm now I was with you at the end of the season and now I'm against you again because I just want money. That's I'm talking about the Juju.
Mm-hmm.
She just popped up randomly. It wasn't like she was the main villain going after them. She just randomly popped up anywhere. The antagonist made no sense either to me. It was just like they hired them or they work with them, then they're against them, and then they're. I was like, what is going on? It was very hard to follow.
They had like the worst plan of capturing the assassin ever.
And then like the brother, Lawrence Cow, he had the. If I'm not mistaken, he had the very thing that took his chi. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, no, they were in the temple and they like he summoned them all like in the first 10 minutes of the film or maybe 15. But like they and then they go, I gotta go have you fight my sister, so we can win together. I'm like, no, you could have just the movie. It was like one of those shorts where they're like, this is how the movie should have ended, and they would really just like won the entire beat the Wu assassins all in one go. He was right there.
But I'm just saying, like, so he had the very thing that can take his chi. And then, but it didn't work because Kai, played by Iko, still had his chi. And again, I'm sorry. It's like, I guess that we're sophisticated now. When you're young, everything that looks so cool, that is believable and like, wow. But when you're fighting a group of people that have weapons like swords and blades,
There are
you're not
also
going to
like
survive.
Chinese vampires.
Oh, yeah, that too. Like yeah, you had the antagonist of the girl, that one girl and her two bodyguards or whatever they were, and they were like nothing. Granted, you kill her, she comes back. She was like a vampire zombie kind of thing, and then you have the other guy who becomes an old man,
Yeah,
and then they're like fall into a ditch. Oh, it was utter mess.
so that was
The
going to be
only
my
thing, your second thing,
yeah. I was going to ask, what's your worst fight scene of the movie?
I don't remember.
I was going to say that scene, the end fight scene.
Oh, at the end?
At the end,
Yeah.
because
Well,
it made no sense
well,
for
the thing
me.
is,
They possessed the one guy. He's like, you're like my brother. Da 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 da. I can't fight you. They possess him. Somehow he summons his key. Does that whole thing we talked about.
oh, okay.
And
Before
then
you go
goes
there,
into the old man mode and falls
Mhm.
in, and they fight in the pit, and they're hanging, fighting on the ropes, which is the like, and
Yeah.
that's how they win. I'm like, didn't he go into the pit by choice? I'm like, I know we're. I'm like, I'm confused.
Yeah. And they're hanging like on a rope with like one hand, like without like you could slip easily. And then yeah, that scene where Louis Tan, he gets controlled or possessed and they fight, and then he backs up to line himself up with the other bad guys. Like he moves away, like he's fighting Kai. He backs up to line himself up with the troop of the bad guys. And then he goes back again solo. I was like, what was that? What was that backing up, posing to go forward? Because it served no purpose.
I mean, visually
Again,
to show that like he's turned sides.
It was easy to see that because his eyes changed. His eyes were black. That was so easy to tell. You don't have to walk back to show that when you have the visual there and then him fighting, trying to be his boy. But again, like you have the thing where, oh, the chases were crap as well. I mean, it was just very amateurish. This is 100% a waste of time, sadly, because I wanted to enjoy it. I didn't know at first it was a sequel to Assassin. You told me it was.
I had no idea until I started watching. I'm like, wait, this is Wu Assassin. Although,
right,
the big giveaway was like in the first fight scene, he does Wu Assassin Strike, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, I know, because I thought it was almost like maybe it was because he like in a different universe and they saw the show and they liked the show, so they're doing this
like we saw Power Rangers, so now everything we do is like Power Rangers theme.
I mean, I was going back, and I know I cut you off, and I apologize for cutting you off, but
yeah, you're good.
Again, the fight scenes are so cheesy. And again, when you're fighting someone who has weapons, like in a sense of a bat or a sword or a machete, you're going to get cut up for one. You're going to die most likely.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to come out unharmed. And what did they do? They came out unharmed all the time, especially the new girl who betrayed them, and she's fighting the gang members, and she's reaching out to block the strike. You never do that, be it real or fake. You never reach out. It was just so unbelievable. And again, how Wu Assassin presented itself, and that only Kai was the one that could do it. No one else could fight. And then at the end, everyone's fighting, which was like, what the hell? How? And now in this movie, everyone's fighting again. Even the new girl, Interpol agent, who was played by Pearl, she was annoying. And then she was like, wait a minute, what? There's ghosts, there's what? There's vampires? Okay, I'm in. I was like, wait a minute, how are you in?
So quickly.
For those watching, I can't say save your money, just save your time, save your insanity. Unless it's probably a good movie if you're high.
No, there's better. No, I have a bunch of friends, and trust me, they'll have a lot the go-to movies that they will watch.
This is a movie you can put on while cleaning the house. This is a movie you can put on just to say you want to get something done. Okay, you got to get something done in an hour and a half, or how long ever this movie is.
Is it good to fall asleep to?
Oh, I know.
I
know. I fell asleep.
It's white noise.
All right, so I already gave my.
Oh yeah, it's
review.
In case anybody hasn't gathered mine, it's not worth your time.
So let's review on a movie that is worth our time, worth our attention. It is Day Shift, starring Jamie Foxx. This is a movie similar to Fistful of Vengeance in a way that you have super beings, vampires here.
Well, here's where Day Shift succeeds, where Fistful of Vengeance failed.
Everything.
And I mean that genuinely. The fact that it has a clear, concise story. You have your main character. They introduce an antagonist. They show like what his driving force for doing what he does is for his family and getting the money. They explain the vampires as they're going on, and they use the new character they bring in to give us an explanation without info dumping at the same time. And so we know there's like 5 different breeds. There's like mutations that can happen. They have to use different techniques. More importantly, what we like to talk about is the action is pretty solid.
What's good about Day Shift, besides the action, is the tempo. Like you said, like the story you can follow. It breaks it down without oversaturating you. You don't get lost. Now, there are some cheesy moments, yes, but it wasn't that distracting. You just accepted it and you moved on. The action in this was pretty damn good.
How was that first fight scene with the granny?
The grandma?
Yeah.
Oh, the granny. Dude, that was like, again, like that's how you set up the tempo. That's how you set the tone for the movie. Fistful of Vengeance, they just try to throw everything in the kitchen sink. Where here is like, okay, boom, these guys coming in. Like then you find out why he's there. And then the action scene shows you that this movie is not, even though it's Jamie Foxx, is not strictly comedy. And the thing is, he's not the comedian here. He's not the comic relief. Dave Franco is.
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah, well, of course, you have some moments where Jamie is, but Dave Franco is the comic relief here, where Jamie Foxx is the one that he's the straight man in the story. Yeah. Even the other characters are funny as hell.
Snoop Dogg.
But no, he did a great job. It was no wonder why it was number 1 on Netflix for a while. It was number 1, I think, for a nice solid week to 2 weeks, I believe. I can't remember.
I mean, granted, it didn't have much for competition around that time frame, but yeah, I want to say that sounds about right.
Action scene wise, the granny thing was good and bad at the same time. The only thing I think it was bad because the second attacker came out after all that noise, all that commotion, all that gunshots and all that stuff. He finally comes out. But for me,
it would have made more sense like the other scene where they were in the nest. That was a better explanation, like them coming out when something happens. But yeah.
Right. My favorite scene, and I think it'll be yours too, is the house scene.
The nest. Yeah.
Is that the nest? Because the cave too, at the end, there's like a nest too. They all come out.
True,
But
but
then that's not the. Yes, you're right. That's the nest, right?
they call it like the
With
hive or a nest or something like that.
right, they
Yeah,
go into the house. They're following, and you have Jamie Foxx, Franco. You have Steve Howie from Shameless, and our boy Scott Adkins
we are
doing
such
his
Scott
thing.
Adkins fanboys. We're not gonna lie. He does lay it down hard. They actually the other dude from Shameless also does a good job.
Oh, I know. They play brothers in this, and great casting,
Yeah.
in my opinion. But yeah, you see his talent come out and stuff like that. Him doing his flips, and then having his I couldn't help it but think of Jean Claude Van Damme from Cyborg when he had the blade come out the shoe.
Yeah. Okay.
That one, and there's another one too. There's another movie where there's a blade come out the shoe. I can't remember right now.
John Wick. I mean, it's a pretty classic
Uh,
trope, like the blade coming out the
True,
James Bond,
right? But
John
there's
Wick.
but there's another one where it comes out. But anyway, great, but weak in one scene when the vampire comes out and he starts doing capoeira. I'm like, how the heck is what? Huh? I think he was with Jamie going against Jamie Foxx, but he's doing all these moves. It's like, how is this? But no one else is doing it.
Like I'm an import. They're like I came here for the day.
Right. But regardless, the whole hive scene in the house was good. You have the deaths. There's so many death scenes in there. I can't remember.
I remember
the kitchen, the kitchen one.
Scott Adkins had those two spike spears on his back, and like he would take them off, and they're basically spikes, wooden stakes. And then I'm like, and he stabs one guy, and then he pulls out from the handle, literally a sword, and I'm like, oh, it's a sword too. He starts going at it. I'm like, okay, see that's creative. And then the other brother is just like really good with the shotgun as they're going at it. Jamie Foxx has some good scenes in there too, but he's kind of
overshadowed. Oh no, he did. No, of course. But even though it was chaotic and kind of hard to follow, it had moments in that scene where they're showing the action where you can really appreciate it. I think one where on the kitchen table counter, like the island, it's been a while since I saw it, but that was a really good, and you felt for them. You're like, oh my God, like who's going to get bit? That's what I thought. Like, who's going to get bit? Someone's going to get bit here. Who? No one got bit.
I thought that was a scene that like, I'm like, wow, so many of them there. Someone's going to get bit. It's got to be like one of the two brothers.
That's what I thought too. Yeah. I thought Mike, played by Steve Howie, excuse me, I'm probably saying his last name wrong, but I thought he would get bit. Or if not him, then I thought it would be, Scott Adkins. He played the brother, Duran, one of those two. Because again, they're not part of the main cast. They're just side.
Yeah.
My only disappointment in them two is that they weren't in the finale.
Oh, that would have been nice, along with Snoop Dogg or something like that. Because
right,
they would have cleaned house.
Because Jamie and Dave Franco and the other girl, Natasha, who played Heather, they were barricaded by all those, right? Weren't they barricaded? And then Snoop Dogg came in to help.
They were essentially pinned down by gunfire and whatnot. Spoilers, of course. James Franco was already turned into a vamp, but they can only take so much damage.
Whoever played his double, pretty damn good.
Oh, for James Franco?
James Franco. Oh my God! Because I was like, wait a minute, James doesn't know how to do, or not James Franco, Dave Franco.
Oh, Dave Franco. My bad.
Yeah, that's the brother. Dave Franco. He didn't show anything. He was just a nerd, like an accountant kind of thing in the company. And what he was showing, I was like, wow, that's some really good. Like the transformation of vampire gave this much powers to him. I mean, I guess I can go back to that capoeira guy in the hive scene, but no one else did it too. That's where my dilemma goes in. There's no consistency. Still fun, just no consistency. And it was cool because they're showing you that he's still learning. Like he's not full strength. He's turned, but he doesn't know his abilities yet.
Yeah.
This is definitely worth the watch. Multiple times. Yeah. Now, granted, I do say multiple times we say multiple times, but there's so much to watch. It's so hard to watch things multiple times, especially when we're trying to review stuff here.
I mean, if it was definitely auto, how Netflix automatically plays stuff for you, or I came to like a friend's house and it was on the background of the TV, I would watch it.
Mm.
And not
No,
saying I've watched it before. So for me, that would be a multiple watch.
especially for that opening fight scene, action scene with Granny.
Did
Definitely
use
the hive.
a high use of contortionist for vampires,
Yes.
which I
Well, it
thought was
made
clever.
sense. It made sense for that. I do think the weakest scene was the finale.
With the big bad and her assistant.
Well, the assistant was cool because it was with the assistant it was 2-on-1.
True.
And it was with fellow vampires. So that I can understand and that makes sense. But with her having the strength and speed that she had,
Do you think
Granny,
there should be more of a challenge?
it wasn't really in the sense in the sense not for her. At the end, she lost her head. She lost
By
her
using
head.
the same trick he did with at the very beginning.
Correct. But we didn't see that because we didn't see how he did it because it looked like he just walked from the cave hallway right onto the main stage, if you will. We didn't see him set it up or have time because like, how do you walk that far and not set it up and not be seen setting it up? Anyway, yeah, that's the thing. I don't know. I mean, it was in comparison to all that we had, all that we've witnessed, I just felt that was just a little weak in comparison.
True.
I mean, the bowling alley scene was awesome as well.
Oh, with the jocks and the cheerleader? Yeah.
Yeah, that was great too. I mean, it was really done well. And that, again, suspenseful. You don't really know what to expect. And it's right in your face and fast and intense. But yeah, that was a great scene as well. And then they come up like in a lot of movies, sometimes that happens. They put everything in the buildup. And then the buildup is not as...
It doesn't feel as heavy as it should be.
Well, in a video game, right? You have the big boss who is almost impossible to beat.
True.
But then you have all these mini bosses. What comes to mind is Metal Gear Solid, Punch Out on Nintendo. Like you have all these challengers, and then you meet Mike Tyson, and he hits you once, you're done. You have to use strategy. You have to move and time it correctly to counter and things of that nature. That's how it should have been, in my opinion, here. Those things should have happened. Those challenges should have been there and build up. Maybe get something that can help weaken the big boss besides just cut the head.
Yeah.
Because since Granny was actually the daughter of the big boss in vampire lore, the older you are, the stronger you are.
Yeah.
Right.
They allude to that too. Like they talk about how like the teeth, the serration of the teeth, it's like a tree stump.
I couldn't help but also think of Vamp. Do you remember that movie?
Yeah, I remember Vamp.
I wonder if that holds up because I used to love that movie a lot. And
I was watching and thinking about Lost Boys.
Yes, it has that too. Yes, there was risk here because of the wife and daughter.
Yeah.
He should not be able to get up and walk away.
Yeah, he was getting worked over pretty hard. Like she threw him like a clear 30 to 40 feet.
And he got slammed. Right. No, not until, was it a wall or a rock, like a boulder? Like,
I mean, is there much of a difference? It was a stone wall.
Boulder, but the boulder has shape. It's not flat.
True.
So that's what I'm saying. Like he got up and easy walked away. Where if you're in a fight like that and someone who's that powerful, you're limping, you're pissing blood, you're swelling. And that's one of the things I have like a problem with since like you and I were martial artists and we competed, even working around the house and we hit our hand or we twist an ankle, things swell up. That like in the movies, nothing really swells up. They get like a little touch of makeup here or prosthetics of like a cut or something, but they're always okay.
I call that the hero effect, like James Bond,
right?
He'll like fall off a train explodes, all this other stuff. He comes back, fixes his cufflinks, like takes his dust off his shoulder, and he's good to go.
But that's constant.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's other movies that have done it, but one recently that I've seen was The Gray Man.
Yeah.
With Ryan Gosling and Chris Evans. That movie, great action, by the way. And I'm surprised we didn't do a movie on that. We should have done a review on that.
I'm surprised too. We both watched that.
The action was great, but his character stabbed, shot, but he's still alive, but he is acknowledging it. He's like,
Yeah.
can you stop talking and please get me to some medical attention? He was like, can you please get me out of here? All right. So I think we gave our review during our review, our final thoughts. So Day Shift, worth the watch.
Yeah.
Fistful of Vengeance, waste of time.
Agreed.
Even Kim was like, you finished watching it? So she's like, it's like, why?
Even Kim had to ask.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know. We're on the flight. I had 45 minutes left to watch. So I was like, why not? And I was like, ugh. Anyway, that is our action review of not one, but two movies, Fistful of Vengeance and Day Shift, both currently streaming on Netflix. Until next time, will be the next time. I am Angel.
I'm Adan.
Love you, bro.
Love you, bro.